Hey, Diane.
Hey, Derek.
Can I ask you a personal question?
I guess.
Do you like to shop?
Actually, I kind of hate shopping, but I guess that all of us do have to do some of it. Sometimes we have to buy food, sometimes we have to buy clothes, sometimes we have to buy every single Apple product that comes on the market.
That's true. Now, if you're like most people, I bet you have no idea how much information and data is being collected, analyzed, and used in order to help retailers make the shopping experience more personalized and more efficient for you.
No, I certainly try not to think about it too carefully, but even if I did, I think I would have to go to business school to really understand that.
Well, luckily here at McGill, our business school, the Desautel Faculty of Management, is home to a school of retail management. And I was very lucky to have a chance to sit down with its academic director to discuss all things shopping.
That sounds interesting. Maybe I should go buy a bag of popcorn before I sit down and listen.
I bet they're expecting you. Welcome to this edition of the Mark My Words podcast. My name is Derek Kassoff, and today we are turning our attention to shopping, and specifically the science behind shopping and retail management. I'm thrilled to be joined by Maxime Cohen, Professor of Retail and Operations Management at McGill University's Desautel Faculty of Management and Academic Director of the Bensadoun School of Retail Management. Yes, McGill does indeed have a school focused on retail, with several undergraduate and graduate degree programs in place. It is also home to some fascinating research that might give you pause the next time you visit your favorite shopping mall or online store. Maxime, it's a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. As someone who shares a home with a couple of shopaholics, I'm keen to learn a bit more about the scholarship of retail.
Oh, thank you very much for having me, Derek. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, great. So listen, before we jump into the conversation, I'm curious to learn a little bit more about your background and how one goes about building a career as a professor of retail. Can you tell us a bit about how you found yourself in this field?
Definitely. So my area of expertise is about data science and AI, where I do some work and teach courses about helping companies leverage large amounts of data to improve operational decisions and to boost productivity. Now, when I looked at what I do and the type of methods I develop, the biggest application that one can think of definitely can be retail, because retail is totally transversal to the economy. You can think of supermarkets, fashion, electronics, restaurants, ride sharing, you name it. So definitely I found retail to be an application of the methods I can develop and to improve both the selling side as well as the consumer side.
Okay, wonderful. I'm keen to hear a bit more about your research, but before we get into that, can you tell me a bit more about the Bensadoun School of Retail Management? What sorts of students are you educating at the school, and what kinds of research projects, sort of big picture, does your team work on?
Yes, definitely. So at McGill, we are very fortunate to have one of the only retail school in the world. It's called the Bensadoun School of Retail Management, or in short, BSRM. That was launched around 7-8 years ago by a visionary gift for Mr. Aldo Bensadoun and his family foundation to allow us to study and improve and practice the future of retail in an optimal and responsible way.
Mm-hmm. So the kinds of students who come to the school, are they interested in becoming sort of industry leaders in retail?
Definitely. So the school is teaching our students at all levels. We have undergraduate programs, we have a Master of Management program in retailing, we have PhD students, we also have executive education programs. So we're really trying to educate the next future generation of retailers in all type of retail activities.
Wow, sounds fascinating. So let me get into a bit more of the research behind the retail industry with you. And maybe we can start by just rewinding a bit to the early days of maybe dial-up internet and modems. Can you take us through some of the big changes we've seen in the retail sector in the last couple of decades? I guess it goes back to the initial emergence of e-commerce. Was that sort of seen as a significant turning point for the retail industry?
Definitely. The emergence of e-commerce and online shopping has been one of the biggest revolutions in the world of retail in several ways. First of all, it has a bit of a democratization component, allowing any single retailer to have access to a large amount of shoppers and not really reserved to the large retailers with a physical footprint. Mm-hmm. Second of all, it allows for some convenience where, you can get from the comfort of your home, browsing around, comparing options and so on. I also believe e-commerce had a huge impact in terms of allowing consumers to compare easily different options. Back in the days when you want to compare and let's say prices for similar products, you had to go and shop around and know the stores and go there. It's time consuming. Here now with a few clicks, you can browse through several options and compare prices. Now, obviously, I feel e-commerce had a huge impact both for consumers and for sellers. And today, I don't think we could live without it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So let's talk a bit about the future now and what the research you're doing now and really looking at about what's ahead for retail. You mentioned that you spend a lot of time studying data science and I think predictive data analysis and of course the application of artificial intelligence. Everybody's talking about AI in every field now, it seems. These are concepts that I guess associate with high-tech fields like science and engineering. So maybe you can explain a little bit about how these concepts and these fields are being developed for retail and how they're transforming the ways in which consumers are shopping and spending their money.
Definitely. So that's a topic very close to my heart. So for me, like I've been doing AI for more than 15 years with a strong focus on retail applications. In particular at McGill, my lab is directing the Scale AI chair in data science for retail. So together with my students, we are trying to see how can we improve retail practices to be as efficient, as convenient as possible, while also keeping a strong focus on societal benefits and social good in general. So we want to make sure that the retail of tomorrow involves strong focus on sustainable practices, also trying to incentivize consumers to eat healthier, for example, as well as to make sure that we reduce waste. We try to make sure that privacy is preserved, that fairness considerations are taken into account when making decisions in retail and so on. So we're fortunate to do a lot of work. If you ask me about what are the biggest potential impact of AI, data science, and predictive analytics to the world of retail, there are several of them to note. The first one definitely is the world of personalization. So there is a big push today where in retail, back in the days when you didn't have access to a lot of granular data about consumers, you have this one-size-fits-all type of decision. If I look about pricing or marketing, I will have the exact same price or the exact same marketing campaign for all my consumers, independent of where they're located, their demographics, and their preferences. Today, with the emergence of large data sets, we can potentially personalize the experience quite a bit. I can offer targeted personalized discounts, targeted QR codes to specific shoppers based on what they looked, based on where they are from, based on demographics, based on any information I have access to.
And is this specifically targeting online shopping, or do we see bricks and mortar retailers using these models to actually figure out how to price objects in their physical stores?
That's a great question. Obviously, it's much easier to deploy in online environments because then you can easily personalize the experience, the price, even the layout of the website based on the shoppers. In a physical environment, it's much harder, but we see a lot of recent advancements. For example, some retailers can now offer some QR codes where people can go inside the store and have those sort of virtual reality or augmented reality technologies to scan some QR code, and then depending on the features, this can be a personalized experience. Another one can be apps. A lot of now physical retailers are offering some apps. The shoppers can download the app prior to the shopping experience, and then through the app, depending on the trajectory of the consumers inside the store, depending on past history, depending on some other data that is collected, we can potentially send specific personalized offer to shoppers in real time when they're shopping inside the store.
Mm-hmm. So based on your research, I'm going to go off script for a minute here, but do you think that there's still a very bright future for bricks and mortar stores? I know we hear so much about online and in e-commerce, but will the bricks and mortar stores continue to have a place in society?
I definitely think so. I think it's been more than a decade that we hear quite a bit about the world of omni-channel retail, where we have several channels. I definitely believe that the future is one where several channels will all be complementary to each other. So we see a lot of presence in e-commerce. We see also a lot of hybrid combination between the channels. For example, you can buy in store and return in a specific destination, or you can buy online and return in a physical store. Or you can potentially, for example, go to the store, try out several things and get delivered at home. So there are these kind of hybrid experiences where the physical retail and the and the online retail are all complementary to provide the best experience for consumers. In some applications, think about luxury retail, for example, I feel they're having the support from store associates to get some advice, to get some information about products, plays a very big, important part of the retail experience. And therefore, for those type of retail applications, definitely physical stores are needed.
Mm-hmm. Now, can you share, do you have any examples of retailers who are maybe really getting this right? They're at the top of their game. And what sorts of innovations are we starting to see in the marketplace as a result of all this data and AI analytics?
I would like to talk about the Retail Innovation Lab that we have opened at McGill University. Mm-hmm. So actually I invite all our listeners, if they're interested, to come visit the lab. It's open to the public. The Retail Innovation Lab is a partnership between Couche-Tard or Circle K and McGill University, the Bensadoun School of Retail Management. The store is located downtown Montreal at the corner of McTavish and Sherbrooke West. And we have a convenience store open to the public where we have a lot of new technologies. So for example, we have a system of cameras on the ceiling that can track in real time the trajectories of shoppers inside the store. Now, obviously, like we care a lot about privacy of the shoppers, so there is no facial recognition. There is no private information that is stored on any way, and all the privacy of consumers is fully preserved. We also have a way for consumers to self-checkout, so where they can have a specific technology for them to not wait in line and to have a very convenient, fast self-checkout process. We also have electronic shelf labels. We also have a lot of other activities where we use robotics, we use some sort of algorithms developed with the data from the lab to improve the shopping experience for consumers. Another name that comes to mind, obviously, is Walmart. Walmart is one of the retail giants in the world.
I've heard of them, yeah.
That is exactly very active on several fronts in terms of combining data science, AI, behavioral economics to improve and constantly leverage new technologies to have a better shopping experience. And the last name that is worth mentioning is Alibaba. I feel like Alibaba and Hema in China are extremely advanced in terms of having also very, very sophisticated and modern retail experiences for their consumers.
And that, just one more question, or a couple more questions on AI. What about inventory? I know we hear a lot about stores, bricks and mortar stores in particular, needing to make sure that they have the right products on the shelves at the right time. And then, of course, not getting stuck with too much product that they can't move. Maybe Costco is a really good example of one in my personal life that I'm quite familiar with. How are retailers using predictive modeling to control inventory and stock?
Definitely. So inventory management is a tough one to crack. It's not easy at all, exactly because of the reason that you mentioned, that if you have too much inventory, it's bad. Like, first of all, it incurs some cost to hold this inventory. You take a higher risk of perishability and waste of the excess inventory. But if you have too little inventory, you are missing potentially some sales and you are leaving money on the table. So balancing supply and demand by matching the right amount of inventory for the right amount of demand is critical for retailers. Now, the good news is data and predictive analytics can help quite a bit. And there is a massive amount of progress in the last decade on how to leverage historical data to predict future demand. If I can predict future demand for each product in each store, in each day, then I can manage inventory accordingly. Myself, with a few co-authors, we wrote a book that was published a couple of years ago with Springer, which is exactly about this topic, trying to help retailers predict demand by using data. And we can show that those progresses in AI and machine learning can help a lot retailers to do a much better job at inventory planning.
You've talked a lot in your research about the notion of pricing in the age of AI. What does that mean, and how is that affecting the prices we pay for products?
Yes, so one of the core focus of my research has been to look at pricing optimization or data-driven pricing. I was very fortunate to spend the last 10 years really helping several companies in several industries to decide the best pricing strategies and how to develop pricing techniques that can really do well in terms of maximizing profits, as well as having good consumer loyalty, having good practices in terms of fairness pricing, in terms of transparency of the pricing. There is so many dimensions. Actually, as we speak now, I'm writing a new book titled Pricing in the Age of AI, forthcoming 2026 with MIT Press, where I take a deep dive into this topic of pricing and how the world of AI and data science is totally transforming pricing decisions. So as you say, like pricing is changing a lot in retail from several angles. First of all, pricing is more personalized. So you can have different prices or different targeted promotional offers for different customers. Pricing can also be more dynamic. We talked a lot in recent years about dynamic pricing practices. Think about ride sharing, think about airlines, but now we see similar practices in the world of retail. And also there is a lot of thought about how to make sure the price is fair, the price is transparent, the price is reasonable. So balancing those two goals of profit maximizing and societal objectives like fairness and transparency and privacy preserving has been something that I've been spending a lot of time in my research with the students.
Okay, well, I'm excited for the book to come out, and I'm curious how much you're going to charge for it. So before we wrap up, I just want to come back to another piece that you mentioned earlier in passing. You talked about one of the mandates of the Bensadoun School focusing on retail for social good and trying to persuade consumers to make better choices, whether it's buying healthier groceries or products that cause less strain on the environment. Can you talk a bit about how your research and the school's mandate intersects with this concept? What does that look like for consumers?
Definitely. So we believe that the future of retail will be exactly one that tries to take into account social type of incentives. We want the future of retail to be responsible, to be ethical, to be somewhat good for consumers, good for the environment, and good for society at large. So together with my student and some of my colleagues at McGill, we are researching those topics, trying to balance those strategic goals for retailers that also embed a social component. So we did a lot of work with a former PhD student of mine, and Naimisha Bandi, and my colleague Sebal Ray, on how can we incentivize consumers to eat healthier. So we did a lot of different interventions, changing the prices, changing the location of products, trying to run an add-on campaign where you buy a coffee and you can add a small amount to buy healthy options to complement your coffee purchase. And we try to study the effectiveness of those different interventions to incentivize and convince consumers to change their habits and choose healthier options. As you said, another big pillar is the one of sustainability, where we try to see how can we reduce waste. Waste management is a big topic in retail, where also data science and AI can help quite a bit. If you have a lot of data, if you better manage inventory, you can reduce waste as well. So that's a topic that we've been looking quite a bit in my research group.
Wow, really, really interesting. So this has been a fascinating conversation. Before we wrap up, though, I do want to ask you a more personal question, since we've been talking about shopping. And that is, what kind of shopper are you, Professor Cohen? Are you an online shopper, a bricks and mortar guy? And how have your academic studies shaped or perhaps reshaped your personal approach to shopping?
I mean, definitely has totally reshaped it. Now, every time I go to a supermarket or to a restaurant, I behave in a very different way. I pay attention to everything, from pictures on the menu, from different prices, from the ordering of the items on the menu. I've been really paying attention to those behavioral tricks and psychological strategic levers that retailers have been employed to induce specific purchases. Now, in terms of a shopper, I think I had some phases. At one point, I really enjoyed more like my physical experiences, getting to know and browse and discover some different products. But sometimes when I'm a bit busier, I tend to focus more on online shopping because it's extremely convenient, it's extremely fast. So I've been balancing the two. One thing that I think I enjoy quite a bit is this products that are locally sourced. I've been trying to encourage local economies quite a bit. When I travel to a new place, I'm always eager to discover some local brands, some sort of potential restaurants that are exactly like from local people with specific tradition that I don't have opportunities to experience in other places. And similarly, I'm always trying to understand like those small and medium enterprises, small and medium family-owned businesses, trying to see what they offer and trying to encourage them and promote them as much as I can, while also balancing the convenience aspect of online shopping.
Right. Oh, that's great. That's a wonderful way to wrap things up in this conversation. So thank you, Professor Cohen, for sitting down with me today. To our viewers and listeners, stay tuned for another episode of Mark My Words next week. New episodes drop every Wednesday, and you can find us on Apple, on Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Or subscribe to the show, and you'll never miss a new episode. Mark My Words is a production of McGill University Advancement in collaboration with the Department of Communications and Institutional Relations. Special thanks to our producer, Frank Roop, and to my co-host, Diane Fagan, who will be back here next week with a new episode. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much again.
It's been a pleasure.
Pleasure.